Hey, good afternoon, YouTube fans. All right, so I had somebody leave a comment on one of the other videos, and I think it's due to the fact that I showed using the AR55. So I thought what I would do is I'd go ahead and shoot kind of a quick little video, and maybe this will help somebody else out. So hopefully they'll pop in here and we'll be able to answer a few questions that they've got. But we're going to run through a few basic scenarios and tests, and see if you guys have any questions. See if I can answer some of them for you. So, all right. So let me grab a couple of things here and bring them. And we're going to grab a couple of, at least a jumper that I made. Throw this up here on the workbench. So I guess we probably need to start is with some of the basic features about it. One of the nice things about this, I'm actually going to start right back here. One of the things that I absolutely love about this versus like the MFJ, although the MFJ in many respects is a little simpler to use in some cases. Let me turn that down. Matter of fact, I'll just turn that other power supply off here. Hang on. There we go. All right. So one of the things that really makes me happy about this meter is the fact that it just uses 2 AA batteries, which is great because you don't have to have a 16 pack of batteries to get 10 to actually make the MFJ work. So they do put a little seal on the bottom of that to go ahead and help keep moisture out. I'm not saying that this is waterproof, but it does help as far as with some of the other things. All right, so first of all, we've got a little button down here. Try to get this in as good as we can. Good evening, James. Good evening, Mr. 312. Hopefully you guys are doing good. So, but yeah, like I said, I had some questions. I had a few people ask me questions, so I thought, well, I'll shoot a quick video. Hopefully it'll answer their questions. I didn't get a reply back after I'd sent them a message, so I don't know if they've seen it or not, but a lot of people go ahead if they've hit the like and subscribe, which I hope you do if you're just tuning in for the first time. Like I said, we're just going to go through a few of the basic features, one of which I need my eyeballs, so that way I can see what I'm looking at. All right, so first of all, we've got our little button down here at the bottom. It's a pretty common symbol, or has been becoming a real common symbol as far as for your power, which is essentially a 3/4 circle with a line in the middle. So we're just going to push that, and it's going to bring up our menu. Trying to make sure that this has got as much of the glare off as I can get it for you guys too. All right, so first thing of operation is we've got our little pad up here that's got the 4 little arrows, and it also says R plus, frequency plus, or FQ plus, R minus, and FQ minus. So one of the things about this is basically this is your up down. So we're going to go all the way up here to the Smith chart, and we're going to hit OK because this is what we're going to select. Now it does say repeat, OK, or check. So that's what you're actually going to hit, and it'll bring you directly to your Smith chart. I'm not going to get into details as far as with the Smith chart and how to read it. Probably the quickest and simplistic way is you have your positive numbers and you have your negative numbers. Your positive numbers, and don't quote me on this because I most oftentimes flip-flop these, but your positive numbers basically are about the reactance or resistance, or excuse me, capacitance. So you've got your top portion that is related to your capacitance. Your bottom half is related to inductance. So before this gets all out of whack here, because it's going to get dim real quick, we're going to go ahead and screw in our little dummy load, and we're going to hit OK again. All right, so what it's doing is it's actually mapping out, in this case, the dummy load. So, you know, you're coming up here, it's showing you exactly where center frequency is on this based off of your 27205 that we currently have selected. You know, you're going to have the little red outline around it and then your yellow dot in the center. So we're going to do something real crazy here. And what we're going to do is just hook up a piece of coax. Now, if I hook up, actually, let's go one better. Let's take our coax. I was playing with my President Richard that I've got here on the workbench just a minute ago. So let's just hook this up. We'll get a reading. Because there is a billion different things as far as with people that this is all they know is just the Smith chart, and they know it inside out, forwards, backwards, sideways, and whatever other ways that it can compete. So let's go ahead and hit OK again. What it is, it's mapping out my antenna. So it's showing me that I've got more capacitance than inductance based off of the length of the coax and the antenna itself. So this is just plotting the route of the antenna itself. All right, so like I said, that's about as far as I'm going to get on that, because this goes into more in depth as far as on the Smith chart than we've got time for tonight. So at this point, let's say we want to back out of it. You've got a button that says X or cancel. You're going to push that, and it's going to take you right back to your main menu. So let's go down here, and we're going to hit SWR chart. So we want to select that. And what we've done is we've just moved our arrows. All right, we're going to hit this little button here that says OK. And it gives us another chart. So what we're going to do is we're going to scan that. And this is showing us where our absolute best frequency is. In this case, on mine, it's going to be 27095. So I know in one of the other previous videos where I had told you guys that my standing wave was set better for a lower frequency, you know, this is telling me what my minimum SWR is at what frequency without actually going into the chart. So let's go down here. We've got the RX chart. Good evening, Greg. And hit OK. And this just is going to give us a point of resonance. So let's just hit OK, and we'll scan through this for the receive and for the transmit. Okay, so resonance is 27014 is what it's showing. This is my principal frequency, which is this line represented by this line here in the center. So it gives me my overall. As far as on the receive, you've got your numbers here on the left, which is for the receive, which is in the yellow. And that's showing me that I've got 49.15 dB of gain for the receive. Transmit is going to be 5.4. Now I am just hooked up to my Mr. Coily. So let's go ahead and hit cancel. Now let's get to what's the most familiar that everybody remembers, only in a digital format. It's going to be your SWR meter itself. So this is what's going to come up. We're going to hit OK again, and that actually gives us our frequency, or excuse me, our SWR at 27,205. Return loss of 25 dB, which is pretty decent. You know, where I normally talk at, and now this is where we're going to get into using these two functions here. So most generally, I do a lot of talking on channel 28. So you can either push it for each individual channel, or you can push and hold it. So at 28, return loss is 21 dB at 1.2. Now, if I want to speed it up, and let's say I want to go up to, oh, I don't know, let's just go up here to like 2800 something. So you can actually push and just hold that frequency button, and it's going to get you to the channel that's needed. Now, if it's there and you actually want to be able to put it in, you've actually got a regular keypad just like you do on the old dial type phones or rotary phones, whichever you're familiar with from way back in the day, or even your handheld phone. But anyways, you've got your number pad 1 through 9, and then you've got your 0, and there's all these other functions that go with it. But what we're going to concentrate on right now is we want to change that back to 20, oops, cancel. So we actually want to change that there. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit frequency range 3. And it's going to pop up with your current frequency that you have. So now we can go in, and you don't have to put the point or decimal in this. So 27,285, and it'll automatically take you back here. Hit OK, and it'll go ahead and recalibrate itself based on your antenna. Well, hello, Fat Cat. So he decided to pop in there. So yeah, I've had a few people ask me, you know, a few different questions as far as with the Rig Expert. So just kind of going through some of the basic features with it, so that hopefully maybe this will help somebody. I had a question the other day, asked me how to hook this up. I think what they were referring to was how to actually use some of the different features on it. So if any of you guys have got any questions, please feel free to leave them, pop in there with me, and I'll see if I can answer them. If not, I'll see if I can find you an answer. So, all right. So now that we're there, if we want to go back to our main menu, you've got your X or cancel. And it takes us back here to the main menu. So we're going to scan down one more, and it says all parameters. Well, that's what we want to select. So we're going to hit OK. We're going to hit it a second time. And this is giving you a live moment by moment view of the antenna. So, the first number we've got, again, is our SWR, our Z, which is our resistance here, which is 40, roughly 49 ohms is what it's floating around at. Gives you your return, 21 dB. It also gives you what they call the phase angle. So you can also push that to hold it once you actually get your numbers too. But you've got your phase angle, and depending on your coax and how everything is set up, your phase angle will actually change, and we'll get back to that in a minute. You've got your resistance. In this case, for the frequency that we've chose, is showing 48.4 ohms. We've got our X factor. Now the X factor is essentially tells you where you're at based on what part of the impedance level that you're at. So push that again. That way it stays lit up. You've got your inductance, which is telling me that it's basically 52 nanohenries and a negative 640 puff. So what's also nice is the fact that it says, 1 for help. So let's push that and see what it says. All right, so all perimeters help. It tells you based on what you've got right here. It'll tell you what your start and stop is on the meter, which is your check mark. Your left and right, which is change frequency. F plus, and this changes frequency steps. So if you want to actually step it in different increments, you can also step it in different increments. Number 3 for set frequency, that's what we just did earlier. And then X, we're going to exit out of it. So we'll hit X again. You can go into setup, hit OK. And this is how you go through and you select, in this case, which looks like I'm going to have to replace the batteries in it, English. So that's what we want. OK. So we're going to hit X again and back up. Palette, you can actually change the color of it from orange contrast. Let's see what that looks like. It's in a black and white format. Let's see here. Setup. So contrast. Oops. Push OK again. Inverted. OK. So instead of a white screen with a black, we can do vice versa. So let's select that again. I'm going to go back up here to orange. Battery. Right now mine is set for optimal. Same thing. We can hit that. We can go intensive, optimal, or saver. So I'm just going to leave it at optimal. That way it doesn't burn the batteries down so bad. Sound. Now I've got mine set for loud, and that's just how loud the tone is. It doesn't bother me, so I've always just left it just as it is. System impedance. We're using a 50 ohm impedance as far as for this setup. You can actually go in here based on what you're working with. It gives you the range of 25 ohm, 50. In some cases, when you're dealing with like co-phased harnesses, oftentimes they're set at 75 ohms. So if you're wanting to actually go ahead and do any kind of measurements with that, you can do that. 100 ohms, 150, 200, and 300. Now, I don't know, because I know you're going up into, I want to say 80 meters uses 300 ohm, like a ladder. Now, the 450, I've never used 450 or 600. So I just keep it on 50 because that's 98% of everything that I do. So we're going to hit OK. Units of measurements. We can do metric or imperial. Believe me, stay with metric. Imperial, it gets into a whole different phase that I don't want to even talk about. So different bands. So we got Europe and Africa. Let's see, Americans, Asia, none. So set that. Now that one I am not familiar as far as with that. Frequency correction. Reset settings if you wanted to change all the parameters that you've already put in there. Clear and save charts. So we're going to go back to there. Calibrate, I really don't recommend getting too much in detail on that. You're better off to leave well enough alone. However, it is because you do have to have, I know you have to have a perfect 50 ohm balance, 50 ohm load, and I think you have to have a certain type of shorting load in order to do a calibration on it. These usually come pre-calibrated and they're really close right out of the gate. So let's back out of that. RL chart. So maximum 32 at 27,085. Now this one I am not real familiar with. You know, I know it's your reactance load is primarily what it's after. So let's hit cancel and get back into that. Multi SWR. Now that feature I've never pulled up on this. Press 1 for help. Okay. Choose item, set frequency, exit, graph mode. Okay, so like I said, this one I'd actually have to get the manual out or look it up online as far as for the manual. Different tools, stub tuner, if you're wanting to actually tune a, what is that? Like a hairpin. They've got different different tuners for different types of antennas. So let's select that. It says connect the cable with open or short far end, then press start. So, you know, your book's going to help you out and walk you through a lot of this. There's a lot of different features and functions on this that most everybody doesn't need to use on a daily basis, including myself. Length and velocity factors. So we'll do that from time to time. Like I said, we're not going to go through everything and show you all the features and how to use each one of them. Each one of these can actually be done basically with it's been a long day, guys. Each one of these features you could actually have an hour-long session on each one of these based on what you're doing with it. You can go in, it'll check your cable loss, cable impedance, self-tests, and all the way at the end, cancel. So that again, just make sure. So the features that most people typically use are going to be the all parameters and the SWR. Make sure you push that button a second time and you should see these numbers moving. That way you know that you're getting the accurate reading, and then you can actually lock back into it and it'll go ahead and go through here where you're at. So, all right, so let's hit number 3, which says frequency range, and let's change that again to 27,205. Hit OK. You know, it's going to give us a different reading and different format based on where you're at on the band. So, hello, Popcorn. Hello, Gary. Are you sure it's not the AR35 instead of the AR55? Because I'm thinking that the 55 is a little bit more than that. They may have come down since the last time that I've ordered any, or ordered mine, which consequently I actually did order mine off of eBay, just because of the fact that, or not eBay, I'm sorry, Amazon, because it was considerably cheaper at the time. Amazon seems to have about the best deal on these. So, all right. Any questions, guys? Like I said, I'm just trying to make as far as how to get into some of the basic menus and maybe find the information that they're looking for. You know, like I said, there's multiple different multiple different things that you can actually do with these. You know, from making, you know, your calibrated jumpers. Typically, if you're making quarter wave, you don't need the dummy load. If you're making a half wavelength, that's where you're actually going to need your dummy load. So I'm going to plug this in. My batteries don't die first. There we go. All right. So let's hit OK. All right. So we're just going to leave that in, lay loose. Put that again. And with the other end just open, that gives us our SWR for the coax, our impedance, and our reactance based on that frequency. So I can't remember what I cut this one for. I just grabbed one off the shelf that I had. So this one is actually set up for 28 megahertz for the 10 meter band is what I had set this one up for. So it goes through and it tells me what my reactance is, and that's what we're after, is to get the lower number. So right around 2830 is what I've got this one actually pre-tuned for. I want to lock that in. Yes, actually you can. That's part of the reason why I've got the amplifier actually setting behind the meter. I figured that was probably going to be somebody's question. So let's go ahead and get this off of here. Yeah, so I didn't have to keep flipping and changing back and forth and back. I actually got on eBay here about 3 months ago. This is the one that I've had for almost 30 years. This one I picked up off of eBay, and this one was used, but it was almost the same price that I paid for this one 30 years ago used, which is about half of what they are now. So if you order them brand new, but this one I just leave it up on the tee for different coax jumpers and what have you. We don't need this ginormous cable, so let me get it out of the way. All right. So I've got a little bit shorter cable here. And we're going to turn that around. And believe it or not, you can actually hook it up either way, because all you're doing is checking your pass-through. So let's turn this back on. And we'll just leave it at all perimeters, but okay. Oh no, I've got an SWR of 34. Let's see if we can change that. But yes, I did that intentionally. Essentially what it is that way you can see the difference between with a load and without a load. Using a dummy load is actually very important when you're doing a pass-through tune. And one that actually is good. The reason why is what you're looking for is theoretically a perfect load. And unless you know exactly what frequency specifically that your antenna is tuned for, it's relatively hard to actually use your antenna to do a proper pass-through tune. So let's get this out of the way here. Now, one of the ones that I really like using for the pass-through tune, if you're looking for trying to optimize bandwidth, I've got this KC901S Plus that I use a lot of times. Here lately, I've been using a lot just for the spectrum analyzer that's built into it. I do have a full-size spectrum analyzer that's up here on the workbench. Since I've gotten my big meter, I really don't use the small little handheld. I haven't been using it much. And part of it has to do with the fact that I can get the watt meters and this all in one shot. So it's become an incredible handy tool. Now, I did buy the Rig Expert prior to purchasing that, and was looking for more information than what I could get just out of the other. So probably the next big deal that you're going to see, or that you're probably want to know, trying to get this up here where you can kind of see it at the same time. All right, I think that's going to work. Let's see if I do that. Yeah, it takes a little bit more glare off of it. All right, so if we wanted to get this absolutely perfect, which with this being a 1.1, it's really not even necessary to do it. However, you can. Just grab a capacitor. All right, so on your amplifier, basically what you're going to do is you're going to follow from where your coax comes in on your SO239 and goes to the relay. You're going to see where it comes out of the relay on the other side to go to the other SO239. Well, somewhere along the pins, you should have what's called a shorting bar that goes from side to side, and that's actually what makes this connection and finishes the actual circuit as far as for your transmit. And I know you guys have probably seen Luke do this 100 different times. Then again, we've also got a lot of new people. Anyways, you can come off of your shorting bar. Just going to try to go up here to the ground source. There we go. So if I really wanted to get picky, and sometimes if it doesn't quite want to work the way you want, all you got to do is slightly snip the end of your capacitor. What that does, that just gives you nice clean metal off of it. And we're going to hit a known good ground. And there were, oops. Okay. So we went from 1.1 to 1.0. We also brought up our Z, which is our resistance here, which is our impedance. So we can get essentially a perfect 50 ohm. Now, if you're dealing with, for example, something like a tube type linear, going into like the 3CX, 4CX tubes, you're going to have different types of relays and things like that. And that would probably be better suited question for Luke, mainly because of the fact that he's got multiples throughout his bench or shop as far as available to you on that. You know, he would be a better person to ask as far as how to do it on a tube amplifier. On the transistorized, again, you've got multiple different types of relays. The smaller they are, the easier it is as far as to adjust your, if you will, SWR through the relay so that you can get a good tune on it. Any other questions? Come on, guys. Quiet, quiet, quiet. Jeez, oh Pete's. It's the quietest group I've had. All righty. Well, hopefully that answered at least a few questions for different people. Like I said, just wanted to get in here and kind of do a quick little video. You know, like I said, I've had multiple people ask me in relationship to, you know, how to use some functions, what they are. Do I need one? Well, we don't need any of this stuff, but it is nice to have. All righty, guys. Well, I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and call this. Yeah, I've been definitely tired myself. It has been a long day. You know, I went and put my time in at the other job and then come out here. And I've been out here for about 4.5 hours. On another quick note, though, I do have some t-shirts and hats that are on order. Hopefully they will be here by the end of the week. So, you know, for those of you that may be interested in them, like I said, those are going to be available. And I'm trying to think here. I know I've got an amplifier coming up for Bruce. I've also got another radio I need to try to get back on and finish up a couple of little glitches with it. Talked to a couple of friends that's all they do is radios, and they do everything from the old what is it, the old tube type radios, as far as like the Yaesu 101Es, all the way into the modern stuff. And you know, that, like I said, that's all they do. So it's been really interesting as far as going back and forth as far as sharing some of the different knowledge with people on things. But anyhow, like I said, guys, hopefully this helps out at least one person in the crowd. If you got any other questions, you know, please leave a comment in there and we'll see what we can do. You have an AA30, got a few years ago. Yeah, it does. At the time, the 55, whenever I ordered it, there was like $18 difference between the AA30 and the 55 at the time, because Amazon had a deal on them. So since I do play around with some of the amateur bands, and that goes all the way up to at least 6 meter, you know, it was one of those that I really wanted to get into and play with. But it's very handy, especially for quick reference. The KC901, like I said, that's still my favorite meter out of everything that I've used. However, I don't know all the functions. I'm hoping to really dive into it a little deeper as far as going into next year. There's features on there that I still haven't figured out how to use because it just has so many things. But you know, you're also looking at, you know, about a $4 meter versus, you know, what, 250 roughly. So huge difference in that. You know, another one that's became my all-time favorite as far as for a clamp meter has been this. This has been great, but you know, we'll get into some other details and what have you as far as on, you know, potential reviews and what have you on some of these as well. All right, guys, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm going to get out of here. I have got to get some dinner in me, shower, and head to bed. So 73s, everybody, take care. God bless. And we will catch you on the next run.